Hello, Bowsers. You might notice a couple of small audio hiccups along the way in this episode. See, what happened was when we were recording, I was downloading several terabytes of lunar porn. Please Google it. It's amazing. It'll change your life. I did my best to edit it and put it back together, but it took a really long time, and there might still be a couple hiccups. But enjoy the show.
Welcome to the spooky bowels of Netflix, where your very frightened co-hosts, Eyeball and Scary, force each other to rip open the body cavity and devour the organs, blood, and gristle of the worst movies they can find on Netflix.
Alright, welcome to the spooky bowels of Netflix. I'm Isaac, and with me as always is my fearless co-host Larry. How are you doing this week, Larry?
You already forgot the one seasonal bit we've ever committed to, and you've already forgotten it.
Scary and damn it. Well, in the opening, because I'll just use the same thing
Yeah, that's true. Well, I fucking care.
Hi, Scary.
Yes.
I'm Eyeball.
Hi, Eyeball.
God damn it.
You are Eyeball. And the worst part is it was your idea, too, and I quite liked it.
I'm a professional.
I'm not. Oh man, I got kind of bummed out today. So like one of my favorite YouTube personalities just quit because he's like involved in a whole nude scandal and blah blah blah.
Did you
but
say
it was making
news,
me think
news scandal or nude scandal?
Nudes.
Nice.
Not really.
Nice.
And it was making me think about, I don't expect I'll ever be famous for any reason. But this is a preeminent promise to my fans that I don't yet have. I promise I will never fuck any of you. I promise to never fuck anyone who even remotely likes me for any reason. I will only fuck people for whom which it is a chore. No, I don't want to fuck anyone who likes me.
Okay, what if you make
That's
enemies?
the only way to keep
If you make
me...
enemies with a goat at a petting zoo, will you hate fuck it?
No, it's a goat. It's not a man.
You only hate fuck men? That's your rule?
I mean the human man. I meant more of like man.
I'm glad you don't hate fuck
man.
boys. That'd be bad. That'd be really bad.
So we're the bowels of spooky Netflix, and this is my spooky idiot co-host. I almost said co-worker.
I
guess
not
this
a safe
is technically
work
a
environment.
job.
Yeah, we get paid in turkey slices, I think, right?
I used to be. I used to eat a lot of turkey slices. I would murder a turkey sandwich right now.
What?
I just made some chicken with green beans and soy sauce, and it was delicious. And the only thing I want is more of it, and I don't have more. And I'm here recording this fucking show with you instead.
Oh, you poor bastard. We are the Bowels of Netflix. We're two old friends who hate each other, and every week one of us forces the other one to watch the worst movie they can find on Netflix and describe it back in excruciating detail. You can find us on Facebook, Twitter, TikTok, big TikTok page, all the kids. That's the reason the courts didn't, we're like, no, keep TikTok up. The Bowels of Netflix is too popular.
Usually I tick and Isaac talks, but we're thinking about changing it.
Yeah, I'm gonna talk, he's gonna tick, it's gonna be hot. Lots of nudity on the TikTok.
If someone could email in and explain to me what exactly TikTok is, I'm like 60% aware of what it is.
I got on it. It's basically Vine, but like longer. It's pretty good. It's pretty.
My
good.
sister does it. Then I just don't look at it. I just don't do anything.
I've seen some pretty funny videos. I like it.
Yeah, I'm sure everything's funny.
But yeah, you should also.
I will never fuck my fans. Never. Not gonna do it. Doesn't matter.
So if you want to fuck Larry, be his enemy.
I have a lot of those, and I've never fucked any of them either.
Or a goat.
No, God.
Just Larry Beard, goat fucker extraordinaire. I mean,
that sounds like a movie that's going to be on the show one day.
The tattoo.
Look. It was dark, and I'd been drinking.
Fair enough.
Coffee.
Email us, bowelsofnetflix@gmail.com. We'd love to hear from you. What do you think of the show? If you've seen any of these movies, if you have any experiences with them, or if you have any suggestions of movies that we could cover in the future. Or if you're a lonely goat looking for some D, just slide into Larry's DMs.
Mm-hmm.
You
ever tried, as a man with big ham hock hands, the thought of trying to use a keyboard with hooves just sounds absurd.
Really thought you were going to say,
ashamed of yourself.
As a man with big ham hock hands, the thought of trying to fist a goat is perpetually at the forefront of my brain.
Does the FCC monitor podcasts or just the FBI?
No. What's the animal rights organization? Antifa?
PETA?
No, PETA. Whatever protects goats. They're gonna get mad at you for fisting goats.
I want to say like the country of Romania. I don't know. Do they have they trade big in goats?
Yeah,
I have
exclusively goats.
In the last 72 hours, I think I've slept a grand total of 3 hours.
Well, you shouldn't be up fucking goats all night.
I am fueled purely by a bunch of Red Bulls and coffee, and at some point, this like kind of sleepy annoyedness is gonna just flip into cocaine energy, and it's gonna be you're gonna shit your pants.
It's gonna be interesting. Well, I'll take some cocaine energy if you can deliver in your feature film of today.
Unfortunately,
oh,
you have given me a bad vehicle for that.
Oh, there.
I've been dead in the inside for several months. So, yeah, I am
Thank you, Scary.
reviewing, courtesy of fucking dickheaded eyeball, The Car. Not The Road to Revenge, just The Car. The original car. If you recall, a couple of episodes ago, I'm pointing at the camera hoping Isaac would fill in what episode number it is, because he's good at that.
Oh, I think 46.
Yes.
When I covered the road car to the Revenge Land car.
Yes, Isaac covered The Car, Road to Revenge, which is a 2019 remake / spiritual successor / kind of not either one of those, really.
I think it was billed as a sequel. That's the weird thing, even though it's not in any way, shape, or form.
Having heard your review and seen this movie, it really is not in any way, shape, or form.
Yeah, it's just
completely different movies.
It's a killer car, and it vaguely looks the same, but not even, really.
Nope. So, yeah, this is, and Isaac has mentioned this, I guess, I don't remember what year, well, no, I just don't remember what year in the 80s that Last Dragon came out, but
85.
The Car is by far the oldest movie that's ever been on this show, because it came out in 1977.
That's the year my parents were married, actually.
My mother was 7 years old when this movie came out.
That's crazy.
I know.
That's crazy.
I know. It's weird to feel so old and then realize that I'm actually so young. And truly, I've just wasted my youth on
and we'll continue wasting
pursuits.
it.
Yeah.
Yes, that's the thing. Sometimes I stop and reflect of like, oh, I've wasted so fucking
It doesn't get better.
And then I don't change anything.
It's just a downhill spiral just until you're one day in the ground and nobody misses you.
Yeah, and we're just starting to get to the precipice of our bodies failing us.
Yeah,
so
it's
we have
really
that to
starting
really
to kick in
to.
real bad.
Yeah.
My back used to not hurt some mornings. This is
honestly the weirdest thing. Pissing and orgasming produce almost the same sounds from me now. Where it's just kind of like a
That is true, but I think that's true of every man who gets old at least.
Yeah, I think so.
So, wow, this got sad, and the movie hasn't even started.
The car to the car.
So Car, 1977. 3 writers, which just seems a little weird for what this fucking movie is. So this movie, I can't believe it. It took me until the middle of the first watching before I put it together. The main actor of this movie has been in another Pals of Netflix movie. Has been in another of my Pals of Netflix movies. Has been in one of my least favorite Pals of Netflix movies.
Oh, God.
Do you recall, Eyeball? I almost called you Scary, which is my name, as everyone knows.
You are scary.
Mm-hmm. Do you recall a little movie called Love, Wedding, Marriage?
I do. Wait, is the lead actor in this movie Mandy Moore? Get out of here.
You got it.
Oh, shit.
Mandy Moore playing the bold role. I'm going to call it bold role of old white man. No, it is actually the main star of The Car is James Brolin, who played the role of Mr. Streisand, who is
the dad,
the husband of Barbara Streisand. He was the dad in Love, Wedding, Marriage, who, if you'll recall from that movie that I hate with all of my spirit, he was having a weird sort of Jewish revelation as a middle-age crisis and had a bad relationship with his wife that just kind of got resolved with a weird suicide attempt that wasn't real by his shitty, awful daughter, who deserves nothing but the unhappiness that I am unfortunately saddled with.
Was that actually Barbara Streisand, or did you just call her Barbara Streisand?
No. He is married to Barbara Streisand, so I was calling him Mr. Streisand. Not to make.
Oh, in real life, the
that,
actor is married to Barbara Streisand.
Yeah. He's actually James Brolin is actually married to Barbara Streisand. And here's something else I learned: James Brolin is the father of
Josh Brolin.
I forget his first name. Josh Brolin, who is Thanos in the Marvel universe.
Oh shit!
Yeah, didn't know that either. So
Thanos
is the son of Barbara Streisand.
Huh. And is connected to the car.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and this is 2 back-to-back movies for me that have a Marvel connection, because James Spader, who was Mr. Black in Shorts, was the voice of Ultron, who was the villain of the second Avengers movie. So, kind of a funny little connection there. I mean, this is 1 degree away from fucking Marvel, but still. So, yeah, fucking James goddamn Mr. Streisand is back, because I can't escape that piece of shit movie no matter how much I try. So
Love, Wedding, Marriage, and a Baby Carriage.
That was the last. That movie was such a fucking shit pile. All right, so the car, Rotten Tomatoes, tomato meter 28%. That's pretty standard Bowser Netflix fare. The audience score is 52%, and
right.
I think those scores are accurate. We'll get to that, later on in the review. But I think that's a pretty fair assessment of what this movie is.
And I think this, because obviously people who saw this in the 70s weren't rating it on Rotten Tomatoes then, because the site didn't exist. But this, we think, is somewhat of a horror movie buff kind of thing. Like, this is a notable movie if you're really into horror movies.
Yes, it's notably like one of the bad ones.
Oh, okay.
Like it's not like one of the huge stinkers. Like I'm trying to think of some. I'd see that's where
Killer Clowns from Outer Space.
Well, yeah, I would say that Killer Clowns from Outer Space is one of those things that people they hate so much that they rolls around to like.
Right. Yeah.
This one does not have that charm. I say air quotes, gigantic air quotes, charm.
It's just a sucker, like the goats down at the local petting zoo, as Larry says.
Look, their hair was cut provocatively.
You put a Karen wig on it and fucked it.
I shouldn't be laughing at that because it's making fun of me, but I thought of myself opening like a fancy guitar case with a wig in there that I pulled out and dusted off and put on the goat, and then it became funny. So on IMDb, this has a 6.2. So that one is a little off to me. That seems a little high. Usually our Bowser Netflix movies kind of ride the line of 5. This is a little higher. I'm not sure why, because it's definitely not a good movie. It's not the worst. We'll get into it a lot more. There's a lot to talk about with that because there's no plot to speak of. So it's that or nothing. So yeah, that's pretty much all we've got for that. So we're just gonna get into it. And once again, just like my last movie, Shorts, we jump right into things. It's just no production houses. This is the 70s, baby. You don't have 55 fucking people to thank before the goddamn movie starts. We just had cocaine and bad attitudes about women and minorities. Very unlike America today.
Racism. So
the movie starts. We get like 15 seconds of black screen, and then bam, the car, just in a shitty music sting. And followed by a long-ass list of credits while we slowly open up on the California desert. This takes a hot minute, but, like, it's pretty common for the time. Like, if you ever watched a lot of, middling 70s movies, there's a lot of these, like, it reminds me, I watched a lot of Westerns when I was younger with my father, and, like, pretty much every Western made in this time period starts the same way, where it's, like, name of the movie, big list of credits, and, like, here's the fucking desert or whatever. So kind of the same sort of thing. It gave me a Western vibe, actually, even though I never get that again. Also, I think it's supposed to be nighttime, but they have like a blue filter over it to simulate night instead of actually filming at night. It's weird because they do film a lot at night in this movie, but like two of the biggest scenes, well, I guess one of the biggest scenes and this scene have like a blue filter we couldn't film this at night, but it's supposed to be night, so it kind of looks like night.
It's interesting. I'm sure that's budgetary / technology restraints.
Yeah, it must be, because like when I, as you know, I watch my movies twice. I watch it once and then do the review. And when I did the review, when I wrote this down, I thought to myself, they do that a lot. They use that blue filter all the time. But then watching it again, they actually don't. So it's weird that they use it when they do, because like the climax of the movie is all blue filter, and it's not stylistic because they use a yellow filter for stylistic, which we'll get to. So I don't know. It's very strange. This movie was also made on a fisherman's budget, so that probably has something to do with it. Actually, I didn't look at the budget now that I'm thinking about it. And knowing me, I probably closed the window. Let me see if I can find the budget on this. Vamp for a second.
The budget's probably 6 goats and a couple of Big Macs from down at the Mancas.
Just gonna drive the goat thing into the ground, huh? Not even gonna let it get legs.
Hey, it's easier to fuck if it doesn't have legs.
All right, I can't find the budget, so whatever. It's the 70s. It's probably made for fucking...
That's a t-shirt. It's easier to fuck if it doesn't have legs.
Yeah, that's great.
At the ADA convention.
Jesus.
I know, I'm going to hell. Hopefully karma's a thing. And I end up legless and fucked by goats.
You ending up legless would be the ultimate revenge from your wife.
She has her legs. They're just, basically bereft
horridly mangled?
Well, mangled and bereft of blood because of the ropes.
Spooky Halloween!
Yeah, it's just a joke. Just a joke, FBI.
Oh, God. I've been looking at your face and I've forgotten where I put the review. Oh, God. This movie's so long. All right, so, yeah. It's probably fucking just expensive to film at night. And also, lighting wasn't invented until 1980 when Reagan arm wrestled the Russian president for control of all the world's electricity. And before you think Gorbachev, I mean the real Russian president of 1980, Drinky the Angry Black Bear with Russian AIDS. So anyway, we eventually get to full daylight, and we, way out into the background of the shot, we see a dust cloud approaching in the horizon. So eventually we cut to some cyclists biking along a pretty mountain road along the side of the desert, like, cliff face. It's very reminiscent of GTA 5, and it's set in the same area. It's so, like, I've played so much GTA 5 in the course of my life that when I saw the road, I know I could find that road on the map in GTA because I've spent a lot of time. It's very fun to drive cars and motorcycles over the
Trevor's
hills
territory, right?
Yeah, it's out near there.
Yeah.
This whole area is set, like, I think it's very reminiscent. If you ever played GTA 5, it's very reminiscent of, like, the California desert area. Mm-hmm. And also, it's a much better setting for this movie, too. But we'll get to that when we talk about The Road to Revenge a little bit later. So these two young yahoos, who will soon be dead, so are totally unimportant, are biking along the road, having a little small talk. They're racing, and they go through a super cool-looking tunnel carved into the side of a rock face. It's really neat. Very pretty, stylistically. And suddenly we cut to car vision. Now, car vision is just a yellow filter over everything where we get, like, dun-dun, 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 music stings.
Oh, my gosh.
Sometimes they're that dramatic. Sometimes they're less dramatic. Sometimes they're more dramatic. So we cut back and forth between the cyclists who are, like, having a great day, and then we cut to car vision as the movie's trying to build tension. We get a super long zoom in on one of the tunnel entrances as we hear the car speeding up over the course of a minute before it emerges. And we get the camera from the undercarriage view. You can't really see the car. The suspense builds. The cyclists are unaware. The music is rising. The car is turning. The camera is panning. The cyclists are happy and speeding up. The car rounds the bend. The music stings get more intense, and I realize this movie is Jaws.
Oh.
The car is Jaws.
And Jaws,
the car is Jaws.
Jaws came out in 75,
Jaws came out
right?
2 years before. Yep.
Yeah.
This movie...
Holy shit.
This movie is Jaws with a car.
That's amazing. Amazing.
I realized it within the first 3 minutes.
Oh my god. That's phenomenal.
So, for those of you who aren't aware, and I guess we're getting old enough now that it might not be as much in the cultural milieu as we expect, Jaws is a very famous Spielberg movie about a killer shark who gets caught. Now, I haven't seen Jaws in a long time, but it's iconic enough that you don't need the particulars. He gets, like, stuck in, like, a bay area or something, and he's just attacking all these people in this, like, bay area and killing all these people, and, like, they rely on the water, so they can't, you can't just, like, not go into the water. And eventually he, like, this group of angry fishermen fights him, and he has this cool fight on a boat, and yeah, so it's just but the presentation of Jaws, like, you get a lot of those scenes of shark vision where he's like, you see legs swimming and hear the stings and like the dun 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 dun. Like, that's where that comes from if you're not familiar. Trying to cater to young people, even though I think I hate them. I can't even remember anymore. It's too tiresome to remember who I hate and don't, which is why I just hate everybody.
They look good in shorts.
Oh, we had to talk about Cuties, by the way. Netflix is getting sued over Cuties, but I want to look in.
Oh, I saw
for
that.
Next episode. I want to look at it in our break to talk about that.
Okay.
So the car is just Jaws, which is not terrible. Now, I want to talk more about the difference between this and Road to Revenge in a little bit, but that's what like makes them conceptually. They're entirely different movies, even though Road to Revenge is a quote unquote sequel. So the jars, gosh, Mickey, it's me, Goofy. The Jaws framework works a lot better. Now, it's shamelessly ripped off 2 years later and is far, 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 far worse than Jaws is, which is a movie that still holds up. But it works better than your movie sounded. So
I believe that.
It makes it a bit of an easier watch because the concept of Jaws is just a big, semi-unbeatable monster that is like, you don't really have a great way to stop. And that's definitely the whole plot of this fucking movie. But the difference is this is a car. And as we spent however long the fucking episode 46 was, probably an hour and a half, discussing, cars are inherently not frightening in any way. So there is that.
Yeah. Yes, it's very easy to escape a car. But is the reason it's different because it's in the desert and everything's flat?
That you have read my mind exactly. That is what makes this a better movie. And I want to get into that more. Definitely hold on to that thought. We're going to get into it later until we get more into the movie. But that is definitely something we're going to talk about.
Very interesting. And that makes sense. And that's good, like you kind of brought up with Jaws. Like, yeah, it's a shark. Just don't go in the goddamn ocean, and the shark can't get you. But
there's
But in this town where so many people are fishermen and their livelihood depends on it, there you go.
Can't close the beaches. So anyway, we'll get into that more later. But this is like, it struck me like a lightning bolt immediately. Like, oh, it's just Jaws. Okay. So the car starts, and they do a good job of like the first maybe half an hour of the movie of never really showing us the whole car. Again, it's a fucking car. You know what a car? It's not. It doesn't have the devil's cock out of the front of it. It's just a car. So it's not.
They hadn't invented suction cup dildos yet.
Probably not.
1979.
Trust me, my mom told me. The suction cup wasn't invented until 1985 when Bill Clinton pulled it out of Monica Lewinsky. Jesus Christ. I'm so sorry. This is why I write these down and don't vamp them.
God, in 85, she was still in grade school.
Exactly. Weird, isn't it? Wait, no, that's Bill Clinton?
Monica Lewinsky was in grade school in 1985.
Oh, Monica Lewinsky. Yes, okay. I'm sorry. Bill
Clinton was in
president
grade school
like
molesting
14?
children.
Well, normally I would say allegedly, but honestly, that is the easiest thing we've said in the show for me to believe.
Wasn't he Epstein? Yeah.
Oh, almost certainly.
Monsters, all of them.
Just start over. Just start over. All politicians. Please. Just dip them all in acid and start over. Start fresh. Why? Why are we like this? All right, so the car starts honking at the bikers as he approaches. The fucking horn is this annoying air horn that doesn't sound anything like a car horn, but whatever. It gets annoying. They're trying to keep the car hidden from the camera. Like I said, we just get close-ups of the bumper. The car's chasing them down. Eventually, he rams the girl biker into a little short wall, which tumbles her off the side of a cliff. The guy is pedaling for his life, but eventually the car catches him too and tumbles him off a gigantic-ass bridge. Once again, I had so many GTA vibes, I had to look up that bridge in GTA, which I forget what it's called, but it's based on a real bridge, and see if that was it. Because it's so much like it. It's really uncanny.
That's funny.
Which is just a testament to how well Rockstar did modeling California. Yeah. The car horn, it's like an air horn mixed with a trucker horn, and it's just, I don't know, for some reason it's really distracting, and maybe that's just what cars sounded like in the 70s. This is a Lincoln Continental Mark II. Maybe that's just what they fucking sound like.
I think this was old enough where they weren't sampling the audio. I think this was probably made in the booth, and it probably was like some kind of clown honking bullshit.
Probably, yeah. It's a real car. I mean, they definitely gussied it up a little bit, but like
yeah, but I think sound effects were until really you could have good audio recorded, which I think like on site.
Right.
I don't know. I mean, I don't know that much about it. I could be.
You're probably on the track
shit.
with something too, but yeah, it's annoying because of how much it comes up. In Road to Revenge, was the horn used a lot? Do you remember?
I don't remember. I know the headlights definitely conveyed the emotion of the car.
This one, it's all the horn. We get one headlight scene, which I was thankful for because that's the dumbest thing. It only works once. It's like you can only do the reveal of the headlights one time. So yeah. Anyway, it's all horn based. Is his emotions, and I call it a he because everyone in the movie calls it a he, because they assume a man's driving it, running people down. But as we know, of course, the car has no driver. But we'll get to that. So the car drives off.
To be fair, men murder a lot more often than women do.
It's true. Yeah, men are the worst
that we know of.
Yeah.
Unless women are just much better at it.
Probably the answer is both. Men murder more often, and women are better at it. So we zoom in on the like wall that he smashed the girl up against, and it's like none of these kills are any kind of like you. It's commercials are racier than this movie because it was the 70s and you couldn't it was a mainstream air quotes movie, so nothing is brutal at all. So like, but we see like a trail of blood on the wall, but it's the lamest paint job in the world of like somebody just somebody handed little Tommy 14-year-old a paintbrush and told him to walk it along the side of the wall. And then we got like anyway. So we cut to our hero asleep in bed. As I already mentioned, our hero is none other than Mr. Streisand himself, all the way back from Love, Wedding, Marriage. In 1996, Isaac killed a family of 4 in Dillsburg, Wisconsin with a small vibrator and 3 VHS copies of the movie Congo. So Mr. Streisand is asleep when his woman companion starts poking him in the face and whispering like a weirdo. Okay, 2, it's at this point, and I have to break and tell you just how fucking dull this movie is. It drags in a way that no other movies have in my entire life. Now, it's not the worst movie in Bal's history by any stretch. And in fact, spoiler for the end, I almost like this movie a little. It almost approaches of being like an okay 70s horror movie, especially compared to what's in this show. But it is so fucking boring. And the parts that aren't boring are not enough to drag up the non-boring parts. Like,
I wonder if that pacing thing is like a symptom of its age. If that's just how movies were paced back then.
Right, and that's what it's hard. I don't have a great knowledge base on 70s movies in total. Again, I watched a lot of Westerns, but I think most of those were older than the 70s. And even then, that was also when I was a lot younger. So I don't have a great knowledge base to pull from and say, like, you know, how tight is this compared to other movies in, like, timing and pacing. But it drags, and they make the mistake of following the wrong characters entirely. So I'm tempted to cut a little slack in that regard, only because for my lack of knowledge, less so that it still sucks. But I mean, everything in this time period of this ilk might suck, and it's just a symptom of being 1970 and being high on cocaine.
I think even like good movies from the 70s, like Jaws, I think it's a very long movie, but there's a lot of it that is slow paced, and a lot of it is a slow burn. But I think, it's a symptom of much more recently where you get like these crazy quick cuts. And actually probably part of that is digital instead of analog film.
Yes.
It's a lot easier to more stuff and to edit it quickly where it's all digital and you're not, dealing with 35 millimeter film strips or whatever.
Right. Which is so much harder to deal with and like splice together. And so I'm willing to cut it slack on that regard, that, it's not going to have the same feel as a movie made within the last, let's just say 15 years. It's probably more than that even. But the problem is these boring parts are just, they don't matter. Most of them don't matter. There's a lot. It's a long road to drive down to get to the good parts of this movie. And that good is in air quotes. Like, that's not me saying good. That's like what the parts you're there for. The reason you bought a ticket. It's a long pier to walk down to get to that dive. So every single human character besides Mr. Streisand and his woman is pretty much forgettable or interchangeable. And to be frank, Mr. Streisand himself is fairly interchangeable. His woman is really the only human character that carries this movie interest-wise. Also, I promise I'll name her and everything in the review. I now understand this is a terrible place to stop and talk about her like she's not real. Because she is my favorite character. But it was a bad break. So, Mr. Streisand's girlfriend, who we learn is named Lauren, gets his lazy ass up out of bed and starts teasing him. She was watching him sleep. Apparently, she slept over. They did not fuck. That does come up in case, because I know you're going to say something about it.
Is she a goat? She
is not a goat. You're going to kill that joke. You're going to kill it before the episode's even over.
It's easier to fuck when it's dead.
Ay, caramba. So, the two of them, Mr. Streisand and Lauren, have cute, witty little banter. It's nothing special, and it drags on for far too long. But it feels natural, and that makes it not too painful. I give Mr. Streisand credit for the first half of this movie. He plays it very happy-go-lucky. Not like laissez-faire, but very much like he's the funny cop. And it kind of works, because his personality is comedic enough. His comedic timing is good. And he's like an everyman likable. So it works. Like the scenes he's in where he's bantering with her and his daughters is very natural. And it's not interesting, but that does help pace it. The problem is that all goes away very quickly and just never gets better.
That's disappointing.
Lauren tells Mr. Streisand that she's uncomfortable with his two daughters not being officially aware that the two of them are fucking. And she's also halfway living there, and they still don't they've never established that she's dating him now. He kind of brushes it off and starts trying to fuck her, while outside the girls are listening at the door and giggling. He's like play fuck. He's not trying to rape her. It's like he's being playful.
Okay.
Because their world is broken, I feel like I need to make that clear.
You probably do. That's sad.
So we learn that she is the girl's teacher while she's wriggling out of his clutches faster than Isaac's wife wriggles to divorce lawyers the second he lets her out of his sight.
That's why I don't let her out. Nanny cams have been a life changer.
I'm not convinced you know how to work a nanny cam. You can't even work Netflix.
No, that's why I have third-party people come in. And then I have to kill them after they do their service, so they don't tell anyone.
Well, thank God we don't say that on recording.
Yeah, no, of course not. Wait, you're recording this? You're wearing a wire? Shit!
Oh, shit. Eventually, the fucking attempts begin again in earnest, and the older daughter huffs off with the younger daughter. Lauren
how old are the daughters?
Like
Cutie's
10
age.
and 9. Okay, we're really good. I'm really excited to talk about Cuties in next episode, because we got to look at this story because it's so perfect. It's so fitting. I'm so glad
Netflix gets taken down and we have to turn into the bowels of Amazon Prime because of Cuties.
That would be so funny. That would be it'd be worth it to change the branding and alert our millions of fans. So yeah, where we at? Okay, so Lauren grabs Mr. Streisand by the dick, so he'll let her go. It's cutesy. This is rated PG. They banter more about him and his father before Mr. Streisand goes into the daughter's room. We get a cute little scene here with them, and like I said, I really do like how well Mr. Streisand and the girls play off each other. It's very natural. I give him a lot of credit, and it's a shame he didn't get a chance to show that off more with the rest of the movie, because pretty much about the 20-minute point, he just turns somber and never turns back.
Huh.
And somber, he's just a boring somber guy like everybody else.
It's not interesting.
His everyman comedic range is very good. And it really feels like they could have done a lot with it if this was a different and better movie. So
very interesting.
I don't know. It was odd how much that switch flipped and how it was noticeable enough that I was able to point it out. I was like, boy, I'm having a lot less fun with this than I was. So yeah, little scene with them. Their father-daughter relationship is fairly well established and it's pretty cutesy. But unfortunately, pretty much after this point, after this scene, the daughters never impact the plot in any way ever again.
That's disappointing.
It's really odd to introduce this vaguely compelling plot with the daughters not accepting that dad is fucking their teacher, only to never do anything with it. Because once the police station gets introduced, it's only cops. It's cops and Lauren, and that's it. And nobody else matters anymore. So it's weird to introduce these...
A cheap way to humanize Hero Cop.
Right. And it's like, it's a shame because it worked. They got me, and then they yanked it away, like with nothing.
But then, and you never have a payoff of it, I guess.
You never get a payoff to most of the subplots. The police station, it's such a weird choice to how they treat these characters. We'll dig into it more a little later, but it irked me because I thought Mr. Streisand's relationship with the girls was really genuine and was going to impact the movie and his choices more, because it could have, because they set that up and they didn't do it, which is almost worse than just don't do it at all. Just give me nothing. I can insist on nothing. I do it once every other week. Don't fucking give me a piece of broccoli and then say you get nothing else. Just punch me in the face, come in my ass, and then let's move on with our day. That's what I'm used to.
Stop describing the American penal system, Larry.
Yeah, penal system indeed. Oh, God, our country's so broken. Oh, Lord. Oh, it's November in a month.
There's 3 million people in jail, most for minor drug offenses.
Oh, my God. So speaking of, we cut to a transient playing a French horn.
Oh, this is the scene I saw.
By a sign indicating that we are in Santa Ynez, which is a real place in California that I looked up. The hippie represents everything I hate about society and American culture, so I'm hoping he gets run over by the car. Oh, and not sure if I ranted about this yet, but as much as I would love to call this car Revenge Car, in keeping with Isaac's review, this just flat out is not Revenge Car. A, not the same car. B, nothing to do with revenge. He's just an asshole. So this is Evil Car.
Okay.
So I was really hoping, because I kept typing Revenge Car, but it's not a revenge car. It's nothing to do with Revenge Car. Revenge Car is Santa Maria. I can't believe I'm saying this. Revenge Car is a different character.
It is.
In the movieverse of the car. So while the hippie is playing his French horn, like 50 feet from literally the only house within what appears to be 40 miles by the look of the horizon, eventually a domestic dispute begins as a middle-aged couple spills out of the house, the man screaming at the woman. As we all know, women were considered property until 1994, when Jimmy Carter came out of retirement and defeated Fidel Castro in a game of Baccarat for the right for women to vote and, have freedom or whatever. I don't know. I don't follow politics. So this guy is screaming at his wife. It's a pretty generic fight about whatever, probably him being drunk. I don't actually remember. The transient starts yelling that the guy shouldn't be hitting his wife. Also, I had a conversation with some friends to make sure that transient wasn't one of those words I'm not supposed to use. Because I genuinely don't know, because I don't think I've heard it. I don't think I've heard anyone say it in 10 years. So I don't know if that's a good thing.
It's pretty close to transvestite. Where do we stand on transvestite? That's just cross-dressing,
I don't think that one's
right?
good. I don't know. I think?
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm not going to...
I mean, I dressed as a woman.
I'm not going to assume...
Twice.
I remember that. Yeah, you were in a dress.
Yeah, Halloween.
And lipstick. I remember that. Yeah, it was Halloween.
Yeah, I did the whole thing. I did shave my legs. I didn't get a garter. That was the problem, because the stockings kept falling down.
I remember you were having everyone touch your legs.
Yes, because I had shaved them. It wasn't fun. I didn't like shaving my kneecaps, especially, were annoying to shave. I think I nicked myself.
Huh. Man, what a life. That was a long time ago.
Cavemen had it better. Didn't have to shave a damn thing.
I don't know, man. I like the internet and...
Hairless cuties?
No. Okay, moving on. Wow. All right. So the old guy starts yelling at the transient to get the hell out of here. So the transient makes a big deal of running his goddamn hippie mouth and making a stink about how his French horn fits into his case, and my God, I want him to get run over. Oh!
It was so weird. Again, this is the one scene I saw, but so strange.
This cranky allegory between Archie Bunker and Meathead goes on for a painfully long time, until eventually in the distance we see Evil Car approaching in a cloud of dust. By the way, Archie Bunker apparently has an explosive struck because he just does, and we never really ask why.
Fair enough. It is the California desert.
Yeah, I suppose that's just a thing you do. So it comes up later. We'll get to it. Evil car comes up, and we see our transient throw out the thumb for a ride while he hypes himself up, assuring himself that it's going to be a hot 34-year-old nymphomaniac. Of course, the car instead tries to run him down. He dives out of the way and shouts an insult at Evil Car while flipping him the bird. We get a close-up on the tire as his evil car screeches to a halt and then slowly makes the turn as the Jaws-like music stings start up again as he turns towards the transient. We see the car sideswipe him before backing up to truly run him over, ending my misery for good. Hallelujah. That'll teach you to want to have sex and do drugs and not get shot in Vietnam. That joke was written by my friend David, but it was too good not to use. So Evil Car speeds off into the distance. Back with Mr. Streisand, we get a little scene here with him and the daughters talking about Lauren, but again, I'm not going to bother dwelling on it too much because while it is very cute, it doesn't ultimately pay off in any meaningful way, so whatever, I guess. Mr. Streisand gets called to the transient murder crime scene, and it's from here on out that the movie just goes straight downhill. Because once we get stuck to the police force, we never leave them. And they're all totally unimportant. They're just a big pack of either overacting or underacting yahoos, and I hate all of them.
Do they all get killed? Is that why they're unimportant?
A lot of them do.
Okay.
But no, even that, they're not. They still aren't important. There's 2.5 cops that are important, and even they are not important. They're just the ones that stick around.
How do you get a job as a cop if you're an amputee?
You don't.
You said 2.5 cops. I'm imagining a legless cop, Larry. Unless he lost his legs in the line of duty and he's union.
They strap him to a board and then strap that board to a Roomba. That's just how the government does it. It's they when you lose your legs in war, they just send you a board and a Roomba. And you have to buy your own rope because our country's broken. So the sheriff is interrogating he's like, I use sheriff, but I think he's the air quotes chief of police for this town of what appears to be 300 people. He's interrogating the abusive Archie Bunker husband who is fighting with the transient. He and the sheriff don't like each other as the sheriff is obviously having an affair with the battered wife.
Oh boy.
Archie Bunker is being very uncooperative and has shitty details about the car he saw commit the murder. Eventually, Mr. Streisand coaxes some of the details out of him, and we cut to the police station where a male Native American member of the force is on the phone with a racist who is belittling him. So the Native American police officer says he's going to track him down and put an arrow in his ass.
Okay.
The Native American guy exists only to he's started to be the straight man but also get in cracks about how white people suck. I don't know. It's very weird. It's
for the time especially. Huh.
I don't know. I don't know what to. I don't know what he is. It's tough to say. He's definitely treated well. He survives, and he he never gets he always, whenever somebody makes a racist bit about him, he always gets the upper hand one way or the other.
It's interesting.
I don't know. It's fine. It's just I don't know. I don't know how to place it. It just, in trying to frame our country's bad history with basically anyone who's not white, it's just odd. It's not odd. It's interesting to go back and look at see how these things were handled and try and figure out what it was like.
Yeah. In 1977, that was probably unbelievably progressive.
Seems like it.
To have a role like that.
There's a few Native American roles in this movie. There's 3 of them, really. The other 2 are minor, but he's basically one of the 3 cops that actually matters. Air quotes actually matters, because even Mr. Streisand hardly matters. But right. I don't know. It was interesting. It's worth pointing out because I'm not sure what the intention was, but I think it's done okay. It paints him in the right light. But he uses a lot of sort of racist turns of phrase, but he's saying it to counteract white people being racist. This is the thing. I don't know. I don't know what it's supposed to be, and I'd like to know. This is more of my ignorance, and I'm not sure what it's meant to be, but I think it's good. I don't know. It stuck with me for a while, so I wanted to at least bring it up.
Huh.
So the cops started investigating the murder of the transient, and it goes on way too fucking long, for Christ's sakes. It's just a gaggle of cops standing around watching our 4 main cops talk. We have Mr. Streisand, the sheriff, the Native American, whose name I promise I will get when they actually say it, and our 4th cop, who is alcoholic deputy, and his name is totally unimportant. That's it for the cops.
Jack Daniels.
I think his name is Luke, maybe? I don't know. It doesn't matter. He's the alcoholic deputy. The rest of the cops are just a bunch of morons who stand around with their thumbs up their asses, but they get time and they get scenes. But it's like not anything that gives them character. It's just like, here's a cop and here's what he's up to and this is the road he's at. I don't know. It detracts so much from this movie.
Compelling story.
It's not in the slightest. And especially knowing that most of them are going to get murdered by the fucking evil car. So the sheriff gives everybody a pep talk, and then they split up to go look for the evil car. We cut to school where Lauren is leading the band with a flute as all the kids sit in a circle. We learn that she's preparing for some kind of parade that's going to happen in the next couple of days. The principal calls her aside to show her a drawing one of the kids has made of her. It turns out the drawing is of her standing naked at the blackboard. Lauren is pretty 70s attractive, like traditionally for the 70s, very attractive. And this uncomfortably reminds me that in this time, being an attractive young woman teacher was a thing to be looked down upon. So humankind has pretty much never treated women well, and it's
society.
just great to have those reminders. Or this planet, or other races, or animals, or space, and frankly, I'm ready for the whole universe to end, and for us to just start over.
I love the white patriarchy.
I'd love for it to die and just kill us all. I'm ready. So, Mr. Streisand, the principal berates the teacher, Lauren, for being too sexy and not being annoyed enough that a kid drew this. Because she kind of laughs and she says, "Oh, that kid always gets my measurements wrong." Because she's like, she's sort of like this sassy but enlightened woman, and it's a great character. Like, it works. And she's like the glue that holds the humans together, in my opinion, because she's the only like human character of any interest once Mr. Streisand goes to somber mode, which is 85% of the movie. So Mr. Streisand himself and the alcoholic cop show up. We learn that alcoholic cop has been off the booze for 2 years ago today. Here's hoping there isn't some traumatic murder that makes him start drinking in, let's say, 2 scenes.
Yay!
Mr. Streisand and alcoholic cop are called to the cyclist scene from the beginning of the movie. Nothing special here. I'll spare you the trouble of describing the investigation scene because there's nothing relevant, and it takes about 8 minutes, or nothing happens that matters in any way. It's just police work. Everybody's uncomfortable because murder is hard. But I mean, there's like nothing to talk about with it.
Everyone knows how fun real police work is.
Yeah,
super fun.
They put together that the same car that killed the transient also did this murder too. They had tire tracks and fucking 70s police work. Back
DNA,
at the station,
I get it.
we see more of the weird side relationship between the sheriff and the battered wife. We see the alcoholic cop breaks his sobriety by drinking in secret because of the stress of 2 murders in one morning. It's a good thing we just heard about his sobriety 8 minutes ago. We see Mr. Streisand is prepping to get the armaments ready since they think they're after like a lunatic serial killer. Again, these scenes all drag on so long and are needlessly dramatic, and most of them get no payoff. There's no character arcs here that matter, and in fact, most of them aren't going to get resolved in literally any way. So what's the point of talking about them? Why am I still doing it? And the love story, for example. So the battered wife of Archie Bunker, so Edith, it's not actually Archie and Edith, and the sheriff. Like, the sheriff is clearly having a fling or an affair with this woman, and he is like trying to convince her to leave Archie and come with him, and like, but he's doing it like, if you I'm trying to help you, and if you next time he throws you out in your ass, don't come crying to me, blah blah, I'm a man. And like, this happens in a very short span because, spoiler, sheriff's about to die, and we never see either of those characters again. So what the fuck? Why are we doing this? Why are we getting this side scene in here? Archie Bunker is in the rest of this movie, and his wife isn't. So why am I getting this dumbass romance scene that's going to end as soon as it starts?
Quality writing?
No, it's not.
Who wrote this? Faulkner?
I believe it was his little lesser-known brother, Fuckner. Faulkner was dropped on his head several times as a child on purpose to see what would happen.
That's a good a good erotica pen name. Did I tell you the one I'm going with?
No.
Charles Thickens.
The evolving story of you writing pornography is truly fascinating, and I can't wait to see where it ends up.
Yeah, I have to actually do it. I've done a little of it. I have to commit.
Please. You committed to marriage. How is your wife?
Charles Thickens takes good care of her.
And is Charles Thickens a large man you pay with which to take care of her, or?
No, Charles Thickens is also the name of my penis.
Well,
I use the massive thing to beat her when she's bad. It's so weighty and destructive that it's like a gnat. It just kind of swats it away.
fans, I will never fuck any of you. This is my promise to you. I promise you.
Can you send a goat in the mail?
Well, look, we took a month for a hot dog to show up. How long will it take for a goat? It's going to die in the mail. We never did that. We never took pictures of the hot dog. I'm so mad at myself. I think I have them on a phone somewhere. I have a couple phones now. So, yeah, Mr. Streisand... No, that we already did it. The sheriff wants to take Mr. Streisand out for drinks. As they're leaving, they see Archie Bunker and his wife arguing in the street, and the sheriff goes marching off to the bar trying to ignore it because she basically told him, I'm not leaving my husband.
Right.
Archie Bunker and he have like a weird interaction where they stare each other down before suddenly here comes Evil Car and he just knocks the sheriff and kills him. It's implied that the car might have been trying to kill Archie Bunker, but got the sheriff instead. But it also doesn't matter either way because it never comes up again. So,
is there any method to the car's madness? Like,
yes,
or is it just killing wantonly? Oh, okay.
Yeah, well, yes and no. There sometimes it likes to kill just for killing, but it also does eventually have method. Like it gets mad.
Interesting.
So yeah, sheriff's dead. So every scene with the sheriff up until now hasn't fucking mattered because it literally never impacts the plot again.
Gotta love that.
An old Native American woman apparently witnessed the accident. It's at night, by the way, so nobody saw anything clearly. The Native American cop, who we learn his name is Chas, it's Chas. It's probably short for something, but I don't know. They never say it. It's not Chaz, which is the whitest name on planet Earth. She tells them she saw the black car and also says there's evil in the wind, which Chas kind of brushes off as, and I quote, old Indian talk. That's direct quote. Mr. Streisand takes command of the police force and sends everyone out to search for the car. The dispatcher, who is also a Native American woman, tells Mr. Streisand that Chas didn't fully translate everything the old Native American witness said. She informs Mr. Streisand the old woman said the car... ... had no driver. Ooh.
Oh,
spooky Halloween. This is one of our Halloween episodes.
Yeah, that's why Eyeball and Scary are hosting this show.
We have
definitely pointed out at the beginning.
I gotta tell you, man, we have bungled this Halloween. Both you and I have totally and completely bungled the spooky
not
episodes.
Remotely scary movies.
No,
at
not
least
even.
Mine has gore. That's real gore.
At least there's that,
scary.
but mine is. Yeah. We have totally bungled. Oh God, I'm not looking forward to next week. Okay. I'm like, every time I look away from it, I lose track of what the movie even is because it's so forgettable.
What movie are you covering? I don't remember.
I think it's Love, Wedding, Marriage. I wrote Mr. Streisand a lot.
Yeah.
So Mr. Streisand and alcoholic deputy are kind of floored by the fact that they said the car has no driver and by the string of murders. And there's a bit here where Mr. Streisand tells alcoholic cop to have Lauren's kid parade canceled, but alcoholic cop instead goes to get hammered and totally forgets to do it. We cut around to the various cops out in the field while Mr. Streisand goes and investigates the biker's body who got thrown off the bridge. I forgot to mention they didn't find it earlier, even though he was 35 seconds of cycling away from the girl's body, so they must be really lazy ass cops, I guess, to not find him literally just around the river bend.
Good God.
Eventually, the cops guarding the road into town, one of the cops guarding the road into town, sees the telltale cloud of dust coming across the horizon, signaling the arrival of Evil Car. Meanwhile, we also see that at the local rodeo grounds, Lauren is starting the parade activity, or practice, with the kids from the school. A lot of parade stuff here that ultimately goes nowhere, so why do I have to watch it, I wonder, aloud, angrily. Eventually, the wind starts to pick up and knock all the hats off the parade goers and spook the horses involved in the parade. Suddenly, over the hills, we hear the distinct air horn signifying the arrival of Evil Carr, who is here to, quote, fuck shit up and murder himself some children. Everyone panics and runs as the horses are all freaking out. There's like 80 to 100 people here fleeing in a big group, while about 20 horses are galloping around causing chaos. Trample a cop, which we just kind of like get vaguely off screen, like we see a cop die, while Evil Carr bursts onto the radio track and starts chasing them down. This is the first time we get an unfettered look at Evil Carr, and it's just a car. It's just a fucking car, Eyeball. It's a car. It's just a big black car with yellow tinted windows. It looks like the windows, they're so yellow, they look like the shitty, cheap sunglasses my father used to wear. I hate it. It's also here we start to get the fast motion. Because what is a bad movie without fast motion? So, like, it's you'd think that, but most of the car scenes, we get the car, like, at 1.4 speed. And it comes and it goes and it starts and it stops and it's very choppy and, like, just makes it look silly.
Yeah.
Even in the 70s, it looks like it would be better just to leave it at the speed.
Just
like,
the cheap
fine,
way
you know?
to make the car look
not...
like it's faster and crazier than it actually is. But it backfires because the effect is so bad.
Right, but it doesn't work because it's so obvious. So some cowboys try to distract Evil Carr, which eventually just like spins them all off their horses into the dirt with repeated donuts and bad camera tricks. And I'm not sure if they're dead or whatever, but we never cut back to them, so I also don't care. The majority of the kids and the parade organizers eventually run into a graveyard to try and hide, I guess. But as they do, the car seems reluctant to enter the graveyard and instead keeps threatening to ram into the gate, but never does. Instead, preferring to rev its engine and act menacing.
Spooky.
Question mark. Lauren tries to get up and make a distraction by insulting the car, shouting for whoever is in there to come out. The car is angry. So it just starts doing weird, fast motion, angry donuts of impotent car rage.
Oh.
It keeps like almost coming into the graveyard and then stopping. And it even starts to rev back in a conversational manner at Lauren, like revving back at her insults.
God.
It is so stupid. And like the impotent, angry donuts just looks like my dog running back and forth while I'm like not moving fast enough for his liking to take him out. It's so dumb.
Yeah,
again, just cars are not menacing.
You can't make a car menacing. You just can't.
You almost can. This movie does it better. Later on, there's a scene where they almost get there. Almost.
I'll believe it when I see it.
Just barely. But this is just laughably stupid. So, yeah. Where are we at here? The dust on the car. Oh, yeah. The dust on the car definitely shifts between scenes. Like, between camera cuts, car's dirty, then
Continuity
car's clean,
errors,
and then it's like half dirty. Like, terrible job there. Yeah. Eventually, Lauren's completely unimportant best friend makes a break for it when the car is distracted. The car is distracted. And she gets to a cop car while Lauren continues to berate and distract the car, which just keeps doing angry donuts. Mr. Streisand and the others get the message, and most of the cops start racing towards the graveyard. But Evil Carr hears the sirens and cheeses it out of there. We see Evil Carr speeding towards one of the lookouts, who has a rifle or a shotgun or something at the ready as he prepares to intercept the car. This cop, upon seeing that it's Evil Carr itself, starts overreacting his fear and surprise way too hard as he prepares to shoot out the driver on Mr. Streisand's orders. This scene bothers me. He takes 2 shots, but misses both, and, like, misses wildly. And the car is literally sitting still while he
I was going to
shoots.
say, the car's not moving, right?
No. So I'm not sure if this is meant to be the cop just sucks, or the car is fucking with him, and it's supernatural in origin. The car gets bored and leaves, so bad shot cop gives chase. More fast motion here. We see the extended car chase that drags on for my entire natural life, along with all the other cops on the way. All of this is in like 1.4 times speed.
No.
And all these cops act way too hard and way too badly. Eventually, the evil car tricks the bad shot cop into chasing. He tricks him and corners him on a bend in the road at the side of a mountain cliff face. And we get so basically the cop car is on the edge of the cliff face, and evil car is maneuvered in a way that he can push him over the side. So we get a weird awkward stare down between the cop and evil car, while the cop is like, "Whoa, man, doesn't have to be like this, man. Yo, don't kill me, dog." Before evil car gently, and I do mean gently, pushes the cop car down the side of the hill.
Oh my god.
The cop car flips one time and explodes in a giant fire.
Oh, of course.
In fact, if you look carefully, it explodes before it ever even flips. So the prop guy was real quick on the button for that one. And what we learned from this scene, because this scene technically shows us what we know about the rest of the movie, is that all the police cars are made out of explosions. And all it takes is the fucking color of the wind to blow through it and set them off.
I've heard the legend that Michael Bay was conceived in the theater during this movie.
Honestly, there's not a lot of explosions, but the guy who was doing them was the trash can man from fucking Stephen King's The Stand, who lives only to blow things up and gets a sexual thrill from it, because the cop car, this car falls, and the cliff is it's not like a sheer cliff. It's I don't know, maybe a 90-degree angle. So it's bad. No, it'd be a 45-degree angle, excuse me. So it's, he would probably die for the car flipping. Right. Literally half a flip and it explodes in a fireball.
Yes, that's not how cars work.
No, not at all. Oh my god. So I did go and make sure I listened to your episode review again to make sure I was in the right headspace for this one to see how they interact. What was the stupidest scene in your movie, Isaac?
Oh, there are so many to choose from. The car road to revenge, when he kills the old scarecrow guy, or when they're having the fight scene. There's so many stupid movies or scenes.
What the scene you may have forgotten is the scene where the car does a midair flip and decapitates two bikers.
No.
Isaac, guess what?
Oh, that was an homage.
Evil car, there's these two of the cop cars have evil car. They're bearing down an evil car, and he hits a guardrail and starts rolling and rolls over both of those cars, which explode in giant fireballs.
Oh my god!
And of course, evil car is totally unscathed.
You're right, yeah.
It was probably a cool effect in 1977, but it's real dumb now.
Yes. Yeah.
And it just
the
lengths you have to go to make cars threatening.
I can't believe that was one of the only homages in your movie to this. So Mr. Streisand on a motorcycle catches up with the evil car, which once again comes to a stop and has a stare down with him. We get a brutally long scene here where Mr. Streisand is staring it down, trying to make sense of it. He inches over to the side. We see the car has no handles, which never comes up, but they keep talking about. Mr. Streisand tries to shoot out the window and the tires, but neither work. Eventually, he's about to open the door. He gets it open somehow. I was scratching my balls or something when it happened. I don't see how he did it. And I also don't care. The door flies open and smacks him into the dust, which knocks him unconscious. And the car starts honking triumphantly as Mr. Streisand blacks out.
Honking triumphantly.
Just think of a victorious goose.
Honking triumphantly is how I greet my wife.
Victorious Goose is also the name of my next ska band. Cut to a hospital where Mr. Streisand is waking up. Another long scene here with Lauren and the other cops, where the other cops are telling him the names of all the cops who died in service of fighting evil car. I get that it's traumatic. Everyone is bummed out. Alcoholic Cop is a complete wreck about it. The problem here is it goes on too long. This is a movie. This is not a real... We don't need to have a real mourning period for these cops who don't matter. It's realistic how bummed out they are, but
that's
cut it to 2 minutes, not
Jesus, 8 minutes?
They compact a lot of scene into 8 minutes, yeah. And it's just Mr. Streisand in bed while people talk to him. and it focuses on all the wrong things. Like, the stuff with Lauren herself and her storyline is the only one I'm interested in. And yet, it's totally background to, like, the cops of, like, we gotta stop this car. There's a maniac in this car who's killing everybody, and we gotta stop. He's killed so many cops, we gotta stop him. And, like, yeah, I get it, but they're not good actors. They're not interesting characters. It's not a fun story. Like, the car itself, it's fun because it's the monster of the movie.
Right.
So them fighting the car is inherently entertaining just because that's what you're here for. But they themselves are nothing. They're generic nobodies, all of them. And they, like, decide to roll the dice on hoping that's a movie, and it's not. So Mr. Streisand berates alcoholic cop for letting the parade go through despite his orders. Eventually, the daughters call, and Mr. Streisand tells them that Lauren is going to go see them, which would seemingly wrap up that storyline. You know, you'd think, but we're not gonna really wrap up that storyline. So Lauren says she has to go to Stop Off and get stuff from her place first. Oh, all right. I'm, like, losing my voice. I didn't think I'd yell this much, but... all right. And the weird part is I almost like this movie. All right, so Chess takes Lauren back to her place to grab her toothbrush and, I don't know, clothes or whatever humans use. He leaves to go check on his family while she is doing whatever it is humans do. Personally, when no one's here, I just stare at a wall motionless each week and wait for the time to record the next episode again. But, I mean, hey, your mileage may vary.
That's why you wanted me to call you Human Larry.
It's true. I do want you to call me Human Larry.
All right, Human Larry. Human Scary.
Oh, we're the worst. And the problem is it's, like, not close enough to Halloween yet for me to be in the spirit.
I know, yeah. We're recording it almost a month before Halloween.
Yeah,
so.
yeah. We had to get a little early this time around.
It's not spooky enough out there.
I need to get 3 times more spooky. Spook it up. Nope, that's no good.
Yeah.
So, all right, yeah. So while Lauren is going inside, however, the unmistakable windstorm that signifies the arrival of Evil Car kicks up. Yeah, whenever Evil Car shows up, like, a windstorm kicks in, which, it's fine. Whatever. It's
Supernatural.
It's a supernatural car. Yeah, exactly.
Spooky.
Wind. Ooh, spooky wind. Excuse me. So the wind kicks up and, like, blows something out of her hand. So she runs into the street to chase it. The street where the fucking car lives. Eventually, she figures out that the wind means Evil Car is coming. She runs inside to call Mr. Streisand, and in the most hilarious part of this movie, we see that she is roughly 90% done with a full-size painting of Mr. Streisand that's just out there in the living room. And he's got this, like, sort of, like, all right. Like, the expression on his face is one of him saying, all right. And
that's funny.
It's hilarious because it's literally never explained or referenced. It's just there. I like to imagine that the actor, Mr. Streisand, the actor actually had this in his house, and he just brought it to set.
Oh, my God.
So, I will say here, we get this scene we get here, I genuinely like a lot. It's very well done. So Lauren, there's like a single camera shot on Lauren in her kitchen on the phone while she's crying, like talking to Mr. Streisand about how she knows the car is coming and she can, like, hear it and the wind's kicking up. But we don't hear him on the other side of the call. We just hear her talking to him. And there's a window behind her, and we see the headlights, like, round the bend and slowly like head towards the window, and the scene, like, the camera angle never changes, and, like, it's speeding up, and, like, as it's coming, you hear the horn going louder and louder, and, like, eventually she realizes it and, like, looks and screams, and then the camera shot changes to the car literally smashing through the house and just demolishing the house and, you know, destroying her. She's totally dead. And I thought, that was, like, really well done cinematography, because, again, it is a struggle to make this car threatening because it's a car.
Right.
And this is where I actually wanted to, it seems like a weird transition, but I wanted to talk about Road to Revenge now. So, as we made fun of, if you'll go back and listen to episode 46, Road to Revenge, we made fun of endlessly how non-threatening a fucking car is. Because the way to there's a billion ways to defeat a car, and I'm just a guy. I'm not the smartest, strongest, or fastest guy. And I'm like, against a car, I've got like a 65% chance of victory. And I have an 80% chance of survival. Now, and the problem with that movie is there's so many scenes where, like, in Road to Revenge, where they could have gone up the stairs and problem solved. Right. Car defeated. Yes. This movie does a much better job because Isaac, very good, as you alluded to in the beginning, this whole area is, like, totally flat. And a lot of times with the scenes where there is the car, there is no getting away. It's just on your ass, and you have nowhere to go, and you're dead.
Right. You're in the ocean with the shark. There's no way to escape.
Yes. You're not getting away from Jaws. The boat is your only hope, and even that, the end of Jaws, the boat that they, like, win the Jaws fight with, that's spoiler, I guess, he chews it to pieces, which is unrealistic, but at that point, you're so afraid of Jaws, you're like, it would not shock if he fucking did a tap dance routine. So the car, like, this was a great scene because the car literally, we do see it does technically fly like a couple feet off the ground to smash through this house. The fact that it totally destroys her house, not like to the foundation, but like demolishes a gigantic car-sized hole through it, means that they showed that the car, you're not safe from the car. There's nowhere to go in this movie to be safe from the car, and I think that's a lot better done than your piece of shit.
Yeah, and Car Road to Revenge was in, like, a generic urban hellscape. So, like, every building had multiple stories and stuff like that.
Yeah, like, the fact that they give the car the credence that, like, they don't have an easy way to beat this car.
Yeah.
Like, and now that first of all, it went after her because she made fun of it. It stalked her. It smashed through her house. So, all in all, it was a great way to make the car seem menacing, which the movie was in desperate need of. And it was shot very well in a way that, like, there was actual suspense. Like, I knew it was going to happen, but the suspense was built in a great way.
Yeah.
So I give it credit here. I thought that scene
There's a very similar scene in my movie next week, and I think it's just a great way to do horror where you have the character who's in danger, ignorant of something the audience can see coming for them, behind them. And that's a great way to build tension, and that just works cinematographically really well and pays off, and just builds tension over time. And you want to yell out to the character, "Turn around! No, no!" Yes,
and like that's the part of horror I can appreciate. Like, I hate horror because of jump scares, just because it's cheap and easy, and I frighten easily. This is like suspense. Suspense is great,
and builds slowly and matures.
It's really easy to fuck up a horror movie, and it's really hard to do suspense well. And I think, like, pulling that off is commendable. Mm-hmm. Like, pulling it off well. Because this is a great shot. Like, I have zero complaints. The whole thing is great. And they make the car, like, that for me solidified, like, okay, this is the difference between this and Road to Revenge. Like, every second of listening to you talk about Road to Revenge, I'm just thinking, like, they could have beaten the car that way. They could have beaten the car that way. Oh, it's on a forklift. The movie's over. They've won. It's on a forklift. Like, there is nothing. Now they've shown this car can just take you out in a house. There's nothing stopping it. So, that was really, really excellent. I was very pleased they did that.
Fair enough.
Right. So we see Mr. Streisand and the cops in the aftermath of the wrecked house with poor dead Lauren. As usual, an extended scene here where everybody fucking stands around in shock or sadness with great overacting to boot. Now Mr. Streisand's doing it. He's totally ruined now. I mean, he doesn't matter anymore. He's just fucking another generic sad, somber cop. Alcoholic cop posits that the car isn't just a whack job murdering people. It's some sort of malevolent spirit, and that's why it couldn't enter a graveyard, because the graveyard is hallowed ground.
Okay.
He says the car killed Lauren specifically because she insulted it. Mr. Streisand, however, doesn't want to believe that, despite all the evidence that the car is clearly supernatural, and he staunchly denies that whole line of thought. Because, like, he shot it, and it did nothing. So he, like, kind of knows that it's evil.
Right.
But anyway, we get another scene here where Mr. Streisand gathers the fucking cops for another fucking pep talk. He makes a plan to defeat the car, but they need Archie Bunker to pull it off. Why, you may ask? Because in case you forgot, Archie Bunker, for some inexplicable reason, has a truck full of dynamite that they need.
Right.
So Archie and the cops are going to take the dynamite to the old quarry and blow the cliff up, smashing the car underneath tons of rubble. Or something. It's not super
Makes
clear.
enough sense.
Mr. Streisand is going to act as bait by just being the only person to be driving around, I guess. But the plan doesn't go exactly as hoped. While the cops are getting ready to set up the booby trap, Mr. Streisand goes home to leave a note for his girls that basically says, sorry if I die. While the cops are getting ready to set up as he's getting on his motorcycle in the garage, he walks around to the toolbox on the other side. This is the other scene I really liked. While he's like walking around the garage, clearly, like, it's not hidden at all. In the background, there's the evil car. It's just sitting there. And it's a great use of hiding the car in plain sight because, it's just a car. But they buttress this scene right after the scene where they made the car seem like a credible threat. And then he's just walking around and it's like, wait, that's the car. That's the car.
Oh,
and it's
okay.
like in his garage. And like they play it off for like 30 seconds where he's just, there's no musical sting. There's no there's not the car creeping. It's dead silent while he's like fucking with tools. And then like all of a sudden he realizes, wait a minute, I don't have a car. Holy fuck, it's the car. Again, cars are not inherently scary. And that never changes. You're not afraid of the car. But in the context of this movie, with the car being the monster, it's a great way to use that, like, chameleon nature of it being a mundane object. That, like, It's just a car in a garage, and, like, it takes him and therefore the audience a second to realize, oh shit, that's evil car. So
that's a cool scare too, because
yes.
like you said, anytime you can get a scare that's not just a jump scare,
but
something like this where it builds and like you slowly realize, oh fuck. Mm-hmm.
And he does. This scene has no music, so there's not even like a sting when he sees it. He just turns around and he's like he's got face because like and he's just like it's dead silent, and he like. Tries to go to the door and the car like kind of revs him ahead and almost hits him and then like very silently backs up. It's just like they do a great job here of they work with the limitations of the car being a monster really well in these two scenes, like these back-to-back scenes of it, where they like, it's, he's stuck in this garage with the car now, which would seem stupid, except the only way out is in front of the supernatural car. And, like, that's a problem he has to solve. And it's just there. And it's vaguely scary. It's not really scary. But, like, in his shoes, it's scary because the car snuck up on him. It's a fucking car. So, yeah, again, this is where, like, that's why it's hard for me to hate this movie because they did a lot with what they had. It gets it right
a couple of times. Yeah.
So, some of the writing was good. They really just, they fuck up the delivery, but they really land the landing. So, they have another stare down. Mr. Streisand is trying to figure out how the fuck to get out of this pickle. We get another too long scene here. It does drag on too long then, of a car on human fight. And again, because the monster is just a fucking car, he is able to defeat it oftentimes by just moving 2 feet to the left because it's a car. It doesn't turn on a dime. Yeah. So, eventually the car starts revving and honking, filling the garage with smoke and honks, which trying to basically smoke Mr. Streisand out. Blah, blah. He like dives out the window and manages to get on his bike and get away from evil car, which begins the chase through town towards the quarry. It's long and not particularly exciting and also in fast motion, so, whatever.
Of course.
Eventually the car like figures out what everyone's up to, I guess. So it stops chasing Mr. Streisand and instead starts going after the dynamite truck that he couldn't possibly know about, but I guess the car's the devil, so, whatever.
Clever girl.
Evil car tries to run them off the road, but doesn't succeed, and Mr. Streisand baits it into chasing him again. Archie Bunker and the cops have hastily set up the dynamite trap. Far too many scenes here of cops setting up the trap, in my opinion, for someone who doesn't give a fuck about the bumbling idiots in the police force. Mr. Streisand is trying to keep the car in the quarry with some fancy footwork and fancy driving, but eventually gets thrown from his bike. The other cops toss him a rope while evil car literally starts bashing the side of the cliff to try and knock Mr. Streisand down. blah, blah, blah. More dynamite trap set up. I don't know why we see so many scenes in a row of no stakes dynamite set up. So, eventually Mr. Streisand climbs to the top as the evil car approaches at top speed. Mr. Streisand and alcoholic cops stand by the edge of the cliff as the other cops flee. The car tries to run the two men down, and alcoholic cop desperately tries to flee. At the last moment, they dive aside, and evil car goes sailing dramatically into the quarry. Archie Bunker explodes the dynamite, and an explosion the size of a fucking volcanic eruption just shoots out of the quarry. It's like hilariously too big. As the cops cower from it, in the massive fire cloud, the loose visage of a winged demon appears and roars at them in fury, spitting fireballs before dissipating. So
there's some kind of creature that inhabited the car?
We'll get to that in like 45 seconds. We're almost done. So the cops and Archie wander over to the quarry and see that the rubble has totally buried the car beneath hundreds of tons of rock. Mr. Streisand says it's over. Alcoholic cop says, "Hey, Andy, it's me, Andy. Didn't you see the demon in the fire?" And Mr. Streisand goes, "Nope." And we get a dramatic shot of all our heroes looking over the quarry with the sunrise over them as the movie ends. Or does it? No, it actually does. In the credits, however, we do see a very much alive evil car driving through Los Angeles. Dun, 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 dun.
Oh, they were getting ready for a sequel 42 years later.
All right. So, what to say about this movie?
Yeah.
It's infinitely better than the one you talked about. And that is evident. Even having not seen more than
than a
minute and a half of your movie, it's very evident that some thought was put into this. Road to Revenge was clearly just like we got some money to throw. It's a quick cash grab. We'll make a couple million, go on our merry way with this property that we can probably pay, 2 fucking Hobbit songs for.
Right.
The crime of this movie is just being dreadfully slow, dreadfully boring, and following these really unimportant characters. When you have, a decent actor in Mr. Streisand and Lauren, they have good chemistry between them and the kids. It works. I would be okay with this being, the family fighting the car. That would probably be a little more interesting, only because, the cops bring nothing. They add nothing to this whatsoever. And that's all it is for most of the movie. Mm-hmm. So that really bogs it down. And another problem is, like I said, it's just Jaws. And Jaws is a billion times better than this.
Yeah.
Jaws it's Steven Spielberg. So that's number 1. Number 2, better actors. Number 3, better story. Number 4, more interesting monster. It's just all around better. And the fact that this was 2 years later, it's the palest of mimicry, is really detrimental to it. That said, I do like the fact that the car is just evil. I'd like because this might be, in fairness, just a comparison to Road to Revenge, where it's revenge car and the DA's fucking haunts it with his, he gets a cyborg drill in the eye and fucking computer chips and stupid horse shit and thrown into a fucking cyber car and cyberpunks and this, just a demon. And that's dumb, but it's better.
It's a cleaner villain.
I like the fact that we don't get Chas, the Native American cop, saying oh, this is the spirit of Running Water, who was, evil to the Navajo tribe. There's nothing like that. It's just a malevolent spirit that shows up, starts fucking shit up, and leaves, basically. They air quotes kill it.
You don't need an explanation of evil all the time. And sometimes it cheapens it. Sometimes it works, but...
You don't need a backstory for Jaws either. So it's good they didn't try to force that in when they could have, because it's a car. They didn't go to the fucking Lincoln factory and been like, oh, Johnny Two Toes died on the floor and, he has to wander the world breaking legs for Don Corleone before he can go to heaven. It's nothing like that. It's just a big monster. And I think at the end there, they really turned me around on those 2 scenes where they, made the car not scary, but a threat to the characters. Whereas there's nothing you can tell me in Road to Revenge that would ever make me think of the car as a threat. This car is a threat because they're in the fucking salt flats of Utah, basically, and the car just goes wherever it wants and does whatever it wants, and they don't have a way to stop it. So
it actually works in a way.
It's this movie still sucks, but compared to some of the stuff I've watched on here, it sucks a lot less.
Yeah,
And
it's a coherent movie.
Yes, it's if it wasn't so boring,
Right.
if most of it wasn't so boring, I'd almost like it for at least being coherent and like having elements that are okay enough where it's like, yeah, you know what, it's fine. So I'm gonna give it a 4 out of 10
All right, that's pretty good for
because
us.
for us that's not bad. And of all the stuff I've had to watch for this show, it might be like my second or third favorite.
Wow, I'm
Yeah,
surprised.
it's not great, but like it's not. There's enough okayness that it like it's fine. So yeah, I was
Very
kind of
interesting.
surprised, and I think too I would have been a lot harsher on it if it was from the time. I think I cut it a little slack because it's from the 70s that I'm not super familiar with.
Yeah.
And also they shot things were done differently back then. so-
Right, of course, and just technologically limitations, literally no CGI, and just working with
Exactly.
film instead of digital, like we mentioned before.
So yeah, that's all I got.
Right.
Odd one.
Huh. Very interesting. Well,
Yeah, it is. It is actually interesting.
we
It was an interesting experience.
we both did not do very good jobs this
no, we
week.
fucked up both of
Yeah,
us.
we didn't
terribly.
pick particularly scary movies. Like, they had their moments, like you mentioned, and same with mine. But yeah, you generally kind of like The Car. And next week, I'm covering The Babysitter, Killer Queen, and I love this movie.
I'm so upset.
It is really good.
I'm so upset about that. I can't. I'm fucking livid.
By far, my favorite thing I've had to watch for Bow's Netflix.
I'm livid.
And it's going to be an interesting review. It'll be unlike any other one I've covered quite. We'll get
God
into
damn
it.
it.
But yeah, stay tuned for next
God
week.
damn it.
But thank you so much for listening. We are the Bowls of Netflix. Find us on Facebook, find us on Twitter, find us on TikTok, find us at your local petting zoo, defiling the goats. Send us an email, bowlsofnetflix@gmail.com. You know how email works. When fucking grandmas listen to this goddamn show, don't know what a fucking domain is. God damn it. Bitches. Grandma bitches.
All right. Take it easy, Mr. President.
Hey, I'm running for Senate. And how old am I? I'm old. Anyway, send us an email. Let us know if you've seen any of these movies, if you have any suggestions, any thoughts on the show, suggestions. If we've deeply offended you, you can let us know, and we probably won't do anything about it, to be honest, but yeah, you can let us know. Yeah, and stay tuned next week, because Killer Queen Baby Snitter Twitter. It's gonna be interesting.
Fuck. God damn it.
We love you, and we'll see you next Sunday.
Smell you later.